Hi and welcome to the 28th episode of China Tools. My name is Dennis and I am from Hooked on Wood. And in this episode I want to show you this beautiful chamfer planer. It is very well engineered and definitely of very high quality. But before we put this edge trimmer to the test, I want to go back to my previous episode. In this episode I showed you this Doweling Jig and I rated it 5 stars with the extra exceptional quality stamp. And I am very enthusiastic about it. But I indicated that you could only use 8mm dowels with this jig. But you can order extra bushings if necessary. So if you specifically need 6 or 10mm dowels, that is at least possible. There are also 5mm bushings available. And 5mm bushings are particularly useful for mounting shelves. And I've ordered them for myself to add them to my multi-row puncher for making multiple holes. And the only drawback is that especially if you want to add a 5mm bushing for every hole, you have to buy 10 sets, which cost a bit much. However, I choose it because the alternatives we I'm thinking of are even more expensive and the alignment and drilling are so fast and accurate that I want to try it anyway. Viewers asked me a few times where you could buy these furniture screws. And the disadvantage of this jig might be you cannot adjust the height for these furniture screws like this jig can, for example. So you will have to order the size suited for this jig, and the connecting rod should be 40mm, so pay attention to this. But you can also buy these pins at Banggood and they are reasonably priced, and you will not, or at least not easily, find them cheaper anywhere else. You can find all the links in the description of this video. This is a woodpecker scraper. I agree, definitely not the most admirable woodpeckers tool, but still their name is on it, and with 2 blades they still dare to charge you 45 euros for it. And this is the scraper from Hongdui. And I tested it in episode 13. And not only does this scraper cost half of the Woodpeckers version, but they have also improved it in every way. The weight, the material, the balance, securing the blade, and the extra blade storage makes it so much easier and pleasant to use. So with this scraper Hongdui showed they could improve an existing product. But of course a scraper is not that complex. In episode 18 I tested this miter gauge, and at first glance it looks a bit like the Jessen miter gauge. But the appearance is deceiving because it's different in all functional aspects. It is Hongdui's own design, and as one of the few miter gauges in the market, it has more than 140 fixed stops in a range of -70 to +70 degrees. And that makes this miter gauge very precise and consistent to work with. And if you are interested in the good miter gauge, check out episode 18, because I really think this is one of the best miter gauges you can buy for the money. And when I recorded this video I saw the price is currently 100 euros. And for that money it is an insane product. I rated both the scraper and the miter gauge 5 stars plus. And on my website www.hookedonwood.online you can find a ranking of all my review tools with direct links and in which episode you can find the product. So I have only 5 products that are rewarded as exceptional quality. And Hongdui has 2 products in that category. So when a viewer asked me if I already saw the Hongdui chamfer planer, I ordered it right away. And if you have any suggestions for a review, let me know in the comments. I always read your comments. It comes delivered in a hard plastic case, and when you open the box you immediately notice that this device is of very high quality. And it's a bit difficult to temper my enthusiasm because it's such a nice product. It feels heavy, the dials are of high quality, very nicely finished, and every high-end brand in the world would proudly put their name on such a product. I know these chamfer planers from the Woodpeckers EZ planer, and I was actually interested in the Woodpeckers version, but they are not available in Europe until the second quarter of 2022. But I tested this clone in episode 22, and if you visit my site you can see I could not give this product a recommendation. And while I don't want to compare this clone to the Woodpeckers, the design and functionality are pretty much the same. And as I walked with this chamfer plane, something struck me. This one, and so the Woodpeckers, have room for only 1 blade. And if you want to use a straight and a round chamfer, you need 2 of these devices. and at 220 euros each, that will cost you nearly 450 euros. And I think that's a bit too much, at least for me it is. What's very nice about the design of Hongdui is that it has two blades. And this is a very clever solution. And I do not see any limitations because of the two blades. The guide surface is still as long and stable as that of Woodpeckers. Another disadvantage of this version is the lack of a scale. And actually, I think that is a significant shortcoming in my opinion. You simply can't remove 2mm or 4mm material in one pass. So if you want to remove 4mm, you have to build it up in several passes. But how do you know you have removed 4mm? How do you get a consistent finish when you trim edges of different sides and perhaps different workpieces that have to look the same? You simply can't do it, at least not easily. And the Hongdui planer has a precise, readable scale in both millimeters and inches. And that works well and is easy to read. So you can quickly check how deep you are and thus finish every corner of your workpiece quick and at the exact same depth. Another disadvantage of the edge trimmer from episode 22 is that you have to hold the adjustment knob. Otherwise the depth adjustment changes. And especially if you want to recheck all sides, it would be nice to fix a blade. And Hongdui has come up with a system that allows you to adjust the resistance very easily. And by turning this knob, you push a plastic part against the rotating part of the dial. And with this you can change the resistance a bit and eventually lock it completely. And I think it is an advantage. You can lock the depth settings and you can run over all the edges one last time without worrying that the depth settings have been changed. And the turning wheel is very stable. There's no play and it works very securely and smoothly. And again, it's so nicely finished. Woodpeckers uses a blade that looks something like this, only in high quality. And you can imagine that if you need to replace this blade, it can cost some money. And a blade costs around 35 euros. So suppose you buy a round blade for 35 euros instead of a whole new edge trimmer for another 220 euros, then you will have to unscrew 8 screws to replace the blades. Hongdui uses a very different approach for the carbide blades. She uses a base on which the blade is mounted. And these are blades like those we use in modern jointers and planers. And this makes changing the blades very easily. And even the base is very nicely made without sharp edges. The depth indicators and base are made from one piece of aluminum. And I'm really impressed with the level of quality they put into this planer. Each carbide blade has 2 rounded sides and 2 straight sides. And to change a blade, you do not have to disassemble the planer. You just put the base in a stop position and then you can change the blade. And the same counts when you want to change the straight side for the round side. There's also a spare blade integrated into this planer. So because we can use all the sides of the blade, we have 6 round and 6 straight blades. How the blade compares to the Woodpeckers in terms of durability, I do not know. But nowadays these kind of blades are used more and more in joint and planing machines, and I haven't found them to wear out fast. I'm very impressed with how they have developed this, and I'm leaning towards saying that I think it's more thoughtful and better designed than that of the Woodpeckers. So I'm definitely excited about this device. The only thing I would note is that the scope of this chamfer planer is somewhat limited. It is only for finishing the edges of a workpiece. And edges of finished wood can be really sharp, so it's very easy and also very quick to take a small piece off with this planer. It does an outstanding job with all the woods I have tested. So for a quick 1 or 2 passes to soften the edges, this tool is perfect. If you want to move off a bit more, let's say 4 millimeters, that will take more time. You will then quickly have to make 6 to 8 passes. And if you have to do that on all sides of a workpiece, or perhaps with multiple workpieces, then a router is probably a faster and even more consistent solution, especially when you have a router table. But of course, this is also a matter of personal preference. Many woodworkers want to do as much as possible with a planer. And one thing is for sure, you will get a very nice, smooth and silky finish with this chamfer planer. I wanted to mention that I bought this tool myself, and mainly because I wanted to see if there would be any additional costs. But that was not the case. For Europe, the prices on the Banggood site include tax, and I did not have any extra handling fees. However, I would advise staying under €150 to avoid import duties. So I do see the convenience of a planer like this, but for me the price of the Woodpecker solution is much too high, especially if you also want the possibility to use a round chamfer. So at €60, the Hongdui edge trimmer is in any case a lot more reasonably priced. However, that does not mean that you have to make any concessions. In fact, I'm pretty convinced that this product is more innovative and practical than the Woodpeckers version, with at least the same quality and level of finish. I found it unbelievable that they can make such a nice device, including this hard case box, for only €60. And this is my scoring card. This episode was a bit shorter than usual, but I hope not less attractive. In the next episode, I want to take a further look into these clamps you saw me use in this video. Another clamp is on the way, also from Hongdui, and that can also be used with dog holes. So I think it will be nice to take a look at those two clamps together next time. And I want to thank everyone for watching. Have a great day. If you have any suggestions, please leave a comment, and we will see each other next time.